This should be it. All right, I believe I'm officially live at this point. I'm really sorry for anybody in the stream here that's been waiting. Little technical issues. This is the first time we've ever done a live stream at SalesReach. Jared's kind of freaking out over here, but he's giving me the thumbs up, so apparently we're live. Thank you to everyone that's already on the chat and to all the people that are going to be joining in the sessions that we're going to have throughout the morning here. So what I wanted to lead off with was just a little bit of an explanation of what we're actually doing here. And before I get into that, can I just get a confirmation from someone in chat? Is the audio okay right now? Is everybody able to hear me okay? I don't want to sit here and be a talking head forever and ever without any audio, but everything should be working well, I'm assuming. All right, so we're good. Jared says we're good. All right, so the reason that we wanted to quickly organize this digital handshake-free conference. This is the most handshake-free conference you'll ever attend because it's physically impossible to shake your hand. But this isn't really a laughing matter what's happening right now. This coronavirus is really throwing a wrench into a lot of people's plans. And basically where this came from, how this started, was a week ago. I was contacted by not one, not two, but 3 of our customers at different companies that let me know that their entire sales force had been grounded. No more travel, no more face-to-face meetings. At first, some of these companies were able to drive to meetings and meet face-to-face, and then that was removed as well. A lot of these companies now have employees working remotely because they don't want to have everybody coming into the office. There's just a lot of people scared about all the things that are happening. But we were sitting here talking about the problem that existed right now with coronavirus, and we realized that there weren't enough people talking about the solution. And we need to talk about solutions. And today we're going to talk a lot about solutions, specifically for sales professionals, because that's what we are at SalesReach, and those are the people that we love the most, our sales professionals. We want to help every sales professional be as successful as possible. And there's a lot of different ways that we can leverage existing technologies to still be very human, be very personal in our approach with our prospects, and to maintain at least a closer level of humanity in our sales efforts without having to meet face-to-face. Now, what I want to make sure to make very, very clear is that I'm not doing this saying that SalesReach has created the product that replaces the need to ever get on an airplane and meet with a customer face-to-face again. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that any of the tools that we're going to discuss on this webinar today replace the need for actual human interaction. Human interaction will always be an incredibly important part of the sales process. It's really how we build relationships and trust with our prospects. But what we are saying today is that there are tools that exist already that are purpose-built to help build digital relationships with our prospects. And now is a really good time to be doubling down on those tools that exist. Now, many of the things we're going to talk about today won't even be specific to what's happening right now with this whole COVID-19 outbreak. Many of these tools will likely be things that you bring into your ecosystem and leverage more moving forward, even after your sales team is able to travel again. So that's why we're really excited to talk about this. We think that we're not only going to be able to help equip you right now, very quickly, with some actionable tips and advice to make your sales efforts better right now, but also additional insight into the tools that exist that you can leverage to make even more meaningful impact with your prospects and clients after the face-to-face comes back into the sales situation. So we're going to get into this, but what I want to make clear is that this is not a pre-scripted thing. We're expecting questions. I want to answer questions live throughout this entire webinar. We have some incredible people joining in the panels that are going to be after this stream. We're going to have Nikolai Bador and Alan LeMay next. So we're going to have representatives from Oracle and Workday that are going to be talking about what they've been doing to be more intentional and in a digital environment with their prospects. I think everybody's going to learn a lot from that. The session after that will be Robert Finney from 8x8, joined by Jared here in my marketing department at SalesReach. I'll be moderating that one. And we're going to dive specifically into a whole slew of tools that exist that you can start leveraging today. And many of those tools are completely free. So we're really not, this isn't a big salesy thing where we're all trying to make a bunch of money off of everybody. This really is intended to give you some comfort and solace right now while you're trying to develop a plan for how you're going to move forward. Because what we do know is that your quota likely has not changed. You still likely have a quota that you need to hit. And you're probably wondering, how am I going to do that when I can't have the interactions that I'm so used to? We're going to give you that advice today. So Jared, do we have anything real quick that I should be addressing coming through before I get into this?
Let's say hi to our friends out who join us in the chat. We've got Adam Gardner from Rhode Island.
Adam Gardner, all the way from Rhode Island. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the chat, man.
Yeah, we've got a couple people from Minnesota. We've got
Mike Lewis. I see Mike Lewis from Click 360. Mike, I'm expecting that you're going to bring some questions to this one, buddy. All right? So thanks for joining. Abby Hines, I've been chatting with you, Abby, on LinkedIn, so I'm honored that you actually jumped into this one. So yeah, seeing some people joining. Honestly, any questions that you have, let's talk about it. Now, the point of this first session here is I wanted to talk a little bit about personalization in your sales process, because if anyone joining here follows me on LinkedIn at all, or is maybe in the local community and sees me speak around town, you know this is one of my big passions. I absolutely love personal branding and making the sales process more personal in a digital space. This is kind of my wheelhouse, and I want to talk about it a little bit. I'm going to lead off with video, and as the questions come in, Jared will just kind of bring me in on that. So let's start with video, because video is a really scary thing for most people to start leveraging in their sales efforts. If I reach forward here, give me 1 second, I'll take this camera down. So right now, I'm shooting this video through a Canon 5D Mark IV. I use this camera every single day. I actually have 3 of them because I use it in my podcast setup that I have as well, so that I can have 3 cameras running simultaneously and edit it out when I'm done. The beauty of this camera, and the reason I like to talk about this camera specifically, is that this camera is Wi-Fi enabled. And so if anybody is joining right now and they say, I'd love to do video, but every time I turn on my computer, it looks silly, I don't like how I look, boy, I wish I had better equipment. First, I would say it's not about the equipment, it's about the message, it's about the value that you're creating. But if you're creating really good value and you're bringing some great ideas to people and you just wish the quality was better, a camera like this is absolutely incredible because it's Wi-Fi enabled. I'm able to stream it, and I'll pull this up over real quick. This is my iPad. This is currently my monitor. I'm able to control all functions of this entire camera while I'm talking. So I don't need to hire a shooter to be behind the camera while I'm doing this. It just enables me to produce content the second I have an idea for content that I want to produce without having to pull anybody in. I can set all of the functions that I need. I can review exactly what it's looking like on the iPad, and then I can just hit record. For example, with this right now, I'm actually recording this directly into my computer, or directly into my camera. That way I know that the quality of the final product that I can chop up and re-release later is going to be really, really great. I'm not relying on YouTube to record this for me and then I'll download it from there, because it's going to be choppy on that quality. The other reason that I'm recording this is because when you start making videos, what I always recommend to people is to start with longer form content if at all possible. And the reason for that is it's the Gary Vee model that everybody's talking about. If you produce long form content, it gives you the ability to chop it up and make a myriad of micro content snippets that you can leverage on whatever social channel makes the most sense for you to be in front of with your audience. Now, one other thing that I'll back up on here real quickly, when I mentioned that I have 3 of these cameras and I use it for my podcast, I want to dive a little bit into that for the listeners. People that are on here may or may not know that I have a podcast called The Founder's Mentality. And you might be thinking, why do you have a podcast called The Founder's Mentality? You have a sales product. Shouldn't you have a podcast about sales tools? And I could, but I don't think anybody would tune in, because one thing that we always need to be really considering when we're producing content is what our audience is willing to actually listen to from us. And my audience is on LinkedIn because I have a sales product. Sales professionals live on LinkedIn, so do recruiters. So if anyone joining is a sales professional or recruiter, you probably heard about this on LinkedIn, and it's honestly the only place we were promoting it. But by putting up my podcast, shooting it as best I can, and putting out micro snippets of that on LinkedIn, it actually has brought us a lot of business for our business, because I'm starting from a place of trust and value. I'm giving more than I'm asking for by delivering that podcast to people that are maybe founder curious or starting businesses and want to learn from other founders in the community. They join in, they find the value that they need, and then after that, we all have a tendency to trust, to verify before we trust. And so I see a lot of traction coming from my Founder's Mentality website to my LinkedIn page before the connection request happens. So I know that that traffic is coming in from a place where they've started to trust me and they want to learn more about what I'm talking about. Once they get in there, what's been really natural for us is we know that most companies have an issue in their sales department, some sort of issue. And so once they get to my LinkedIn page, they see that I have a sales tech company, and that starts bringing in some leads right there. So it's been really, really great. So when you do start producing your content, like I say, produce long form content with the intention of releasing it in both long form and chopping it up into micro content, spreading it out over long durations and leveraging it on as many channels as you possibly can to really build that awareness. The last thing I'll say real quick before I ask Jared if we have any questions, hopefully we got some questions coming in here, is let's talk about how you get started with video. I think that this is the number one thing that my customers ask me all the time, because video is a big component of our product itself. So I make videos all the time, and the expectation when you're using our software is that video is going to be part of your sales outreach as well. Many people are very, very uncomfortable when they first start making videos. And what I always ask them is, well, was it comfortable when you first started making cold calls to prospects? Was it comfortable when email came around and you had to start making outreach through email? Was any of that comfortable? Email was more comfortable than cold calling. Cold calling was incredibly nerve-wracking. Making videos is like cold calling, except they can see your face. So when you stutter or when you think or when you pause and you don't know what to say, they actually see that confused look on your face. That didn't ever translate before through the phone. And so that's kind of scary for people. And all I can say about video is this: you just need to get started. It is one of the most humanizing tools that we can leverage in our sales process. You can't misread a video. You can misread an email very easily. I'm kind of a joking type person. I like to say things in jest many times. And there's been many instances in my life where I've sent an email to somebody and I didn't get the response I thought I was going to get because they didn't realize that it was a joke. And so I had to start really watching myself in my tone in email. And one of the things that my team razzes me about all the time is I like to use winky face a lot in my emails. And that came from just being burned so many times with people that didn't understand that this last sentence I just wrote was actually kind of jovial. So wink face, now you know what I mean. But now when I make videos for people, they know if I'm joking or if I'm being serious. It's a great way to bring a human element back into the sales process. And the only way to do it is to get started. And the only way to actually get to a point where you're making great videos is to keep going. Because your first 40 videos might be absolutely horrible. And you really just have to fight through it. What it forces you to do is really understand what the value is that you and your organization is bringing to somebody so that you can rattle that off nice and quickly. It's the elevator pitch on steroids, essentially, because you need to be able to just hit record and say it with confidence every time, and then add in some personal details about the conversation that you just had with somebody, or the next meeting that you're going to be having, or what was said in the last lunch meeting, whatever it might be. It's very, very humanizing. So just get started. Sounds like we got a quick question.
Yeah, we have 3 questions in the chat right
Whoa,
now. 3
questions. Sorry, guys, I'm rambling. Here we go.
Adam Gardner, a friend from Rhode Island, would really like to know, obviously, personalization is kind of hard to scale. So what tips do you have for people who are looking to scale personalization, move quickly, but also provide that great personalized touch for each interaction?
Yeah. So, Adam, thanks for the question, first of all. So, yes, personalization is incredibly hard to scale. And there's kind of 2 different ways that I look at scaling personalization. Number 1, you have to figure out what tools exist to make it seamless and easy. And the operative word here for Salesforce is easy, because time is literally money. We can't be spending a whole bunch of time putting together all of this stuff. So we need to be able to flip on the fly really quickly. That's Jared's favorite term, flip on the fly, and now it's in my head. So scaling that first starts with a product that is simple, that everybody in the team can use. And it kind of starts with making sure you have a conversation with your team and saying, these are the things that we're reviewing right now that we think would help you scale, and would you actually use them? You need to ask that question first. One of the biggest challenges that I think exists right now is that many times marketing teams are actually the teams that are selecting sales tools. And unfortunately, many times that's happening without the sales team even being included. I think we've all been a part of a sales team in the past where 6 to 9 months after the marketing team decided that they were going to invest in this very expensive software for the sales team, it finally was brought to the sales team. It's all configured, ready to go. And now we're realizing that it's actually way more complex and technical than our sales team actually needed, and we might only be using 5% of it. That's not going to scale right now. The other thing I would say on the scaling side is that whatever you're bringing in, it goes back to the comfort level of the people that are leveraging it. So if we're talking specifically about video, it won't scale if 89% of your sales force is completely uncomfortable being on video, doesn't have the desire to learn the tools and how to actually create the videos, and refuses to make the videos. That will not scale. So video can't be the solution in that case. But if you have 50% of your sales force in that instance of video that's saying, yeah, we'd like to start embracing video, the other 50% will be more likely to follow because they're going to see the success that the rest of the team is having. Now, you can put in any sales tool that you want. It doesn't have to be video. It's still, in my mind, at least the same philosophy. Will they use it? Will they embrace it? And if those things are no, and if they're not comfortable with them, then it's not going to scale. What was the next question?
MJR Visuals.
MJR Visuals. Hey.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's very interested in video and email combination. So what tools, what tactics, how can you get those videos out?
Yeah. We're going to talk about MJR Visuals. Wish I knew your first name, but it's fine. Maybe put it in the chat because it's hard saying that name, honestly. But say, definitely, if you're interested in specific tools, that's what our 3rd session of today is all about. We have a blog post on our SalesReach website right now with a whole slew of free tools, and many of those are video related. Now, here's the thing about video in email specifically. Malcolm. Sweet. Thanks, Malcolm. There we have it. The thing about video in email specifically, it's actually kind of challenging. Now, the first company that I would look at specifically, if you're looking to put video in an email, would be BombBomb. If all you're really looking to do is quickly record a video and send an email or send a video through email, BombBomb is a great solution for that. I was recently on Ethan Butte's podcast with him just the other day. That'll be released in like a week or 2 here, but they're a great organization. What they do is allow you to quickly from your phone record a video, embed it into an email. However, the important thing to understand here is that email will not play, or video will not play within your email. So when you send someone the video in an email, it's going to be more of a static image. It might be a GIF that's moving, but they're going to have to click on that video and it will take them to a web page where they can watch the video from there. So there's a difference between, I think they call their video asynchronous. Is that what they call it? and companies like Skype are synchronous video. So there's a big difference between those. One other way that you can leverage video really effectively, one of my favorite tricks right now, is using services like Loom. Loom is a really powerful tool for quickly recording videos. Specific use case for Loom. Malcolm, I'm not sure, do you ever send proposals? I'm assuming you're in sales. Do you ever send proposals to any of your prospects that you want them to review? I'm assuming you do, and there's a little bit of a lag, so I'm just going to keep going through it. So when you send those proposals or those pitch decks to clients to review, especially when we're working remotely, which is what we're specifically talking about with Grounded here. You're going to be remote for a while here in these discussions. You're not going to be able to be physically in the room narrating the experience of the review of that presentation. And so one thing that's really awesome with Loom is you can record your screen and then your face shows up in a little bubble and you can narrate the entire presentation for them. So instead of them just clicking through a PDF or a keynote of your presentation, they can literally watch a video where you're now in the room, you're walking them through exactly what you want them to see, and you're better able to call out the specific parts that you find important in those presentations. So I would look into BombBomb, I would look into Loom. Let me see, you have some other questions coming in here, but let me see here.
Next question we have, how do I deliver a personalized sales presentation when my materials may be sort of static? I can't change the PDF, but I want to deliver a personalized presentation.
Oh, I love this. Who was that question from?
That question is from Cora. We're writing our own questions now.
From Cora?
It's top question on Cora.com.
Okay, so the question is, sorry if anybody can't hear Jared over here. The question is, how do I personalize my sales materials and the process when I'm putting all this stuff in front of people if they're PDFs, if they're uneditable? So this is great. I love this question because personalization in your sales process, I like to look at it two different ways. There's the portion where it's you personalizing it, where it's you inserting yourself into it in a human way. There's that personalization component. The other part is making sure that the materials you're giving someone is specific to their personal needs, to where they're at in the business discussion right now. Two different ways that we got to look at it here. So when it comes to the materials, yeah, I mean, if it's a PDF and you can't edit it, the reason it's likely set up that way is because your marketing team doesn't want you playing around with it. That's the simple answer right there. Our product, SalesReach, was actually, I don't want this to be salesy, so I'm going to go through this really, really quickly, but our product was actually built to address that specific need. There's all kinds of content management systems that exist in the world that help you get the materials to the prospects that they need to review. What we did was we made a visual CRM essentially, so you're able to put all the materials that you want on that page. And even though those materials don't necessarily have the company name on them because they are a PDF, the rest of that page that you're creating is all hyper-personalized to the consumer. So you're having their business name on there, a personal message to them, a personal video to them. We need to be looking at involving more technologies, whether it's SalesReach or other tools, to bring in more humanizing pieces other than just sending PDFs. One of my biggest pet peeves is that we have fallen back on sending all of these attachments and things in our emails to our prospects. If anybody listening is on in a position where they have a long deal cycle, maybe 6 to 12 months, if you think about that, that's a lot of information that you're sending to somebody for an extended amount of time. And then what you need to think about is the fact that the Amazon customer is our customer in the B2B space. And what I mean by that is it's a self-informed, it's a very highly educated, self-educated audience. Before they ever reach out to us as sales professionals, they've already gone to our website. They know what we do and they've identified their own problem. We used to help them do that just as soon as 5-10 years ago, but they kind of do that themselves. And now when they reach out to us, they're more verifying that what we said is fact and that we can actually help them move forward. And that's where we need to be really intentional about what we send to them. Because if we're just sending them more of the same that they already took off of our website with just slightly different words, now we're creating a lot of confusion in our customers' minds. What we always need to be trying to solve for is something that is called buyer. We need to be creating better buyer engagement. We need to be solving for buyer confusion. We need to be giving them the tools they need to equip them to feel confident that they're moving forward with the right decision. So I would say don't worry so much if like every material you're sending somebody has literally their name on it. What's personal about it is they asked you for a specific request and you're fulfilling that specific request by sending them the specific information they asked for. I heard a knocking, which means we have another question.
Yes, we have a question from Mike Lewis, Analytics. He wants to know.
Yeah, Mike Lewis, Click 360.
That's right. Is anyone doing analytics around video, i.e. which parts of the customer watches most, when they pause, how far they get?
Yeah, analytics around video. My personal video that I use is Wistia. I'm a huge fan of Wistia. I don't know if Massimo is listening in on this. He better be, because now I'm giving him a shout out from Wistia. But regardless, Wistia is an incredible tool, and I'll explain kind of the analytics they have because they're really no different from any of the other premium video hosting systems. And I'll go into what I mean by premium. But within Wistia, yes, you are able to, when you send a video to somebody, you're able to see very specific analytics on where was this watched. Maybe they shared it with multiple people, so you can see multiple areas that it was watched in. And each person that watches it is literally, you can see how far they got into the video. What we know about video, what's really, really clear, is that, especially if you're making one-to-one videos, a video from me to my prospect, keep it short and simple, because people kind of start falling off after about the first 30 seconds. They really want their information quick and snappy. So I try to keep all of my one-to-one videos around 1 minute. I have found that as long as I keep it around 1 minute, most people watch all the way through. I would say about 75% of the people that I send a 1 minute one-to-one video to will watch at least 80% of the way through, which just sounded like an Anchorman reference. 60% of the time it works all the time sort of thing. But regardless, that's what I would say about that. All the premium video hosting services will have deep analytics so that you know exactly where the viewer was, how far through they got through it. You can look at services when I'm talking about premium video hosting services. The reason I mention that, and I'm deliberate in saying that, is that if you're making a one-to-one video for someone, YouTube would not be an acceptable place to put that because you would never want someone stumbling upon it. And if you made it private or protected, they would have a barrier of entry to even seeing your video. They'd have to enter their email address and ask for permissions and all that stuff. Premium video hosting services allow you to upload one-to-one videos that are protected from anyone in the world finding other than the intended recipient, and they give you very deep analytics around those. So I can't recommend Wistia enough, and I see Jared put the link in there. If anybody reaches out to Wistia, ask for Massimo directly. He's an incredible guy. What's the next question we got?
The next question we have is about, sorry, it says that probably a little bit of a technical difficulty with the stream.
Yep, sorry. The movie recording has been automatically stopped is what it's saying, so hold on 1 second here. Is it back? I mean, is it actually coming through still? There's just a message on the screen?
Yeah, there's like a message on the screen.
There we go. It's gone. So we're back. Sorry about that, guys. Technical issue. All right, what's the next question?
Next question is, if a new lead comes in super cold, where do I go to find the information necessary to personalize my outreach?
Wait a minute. What? A new lead comes in?
Yeah, just an email, a first and last name, and a business. Where should I go to figure out more about this person, to learn about what they care about so that I can personalize my outreach?
All right, so we're talking about personalizing outreach. So the question is, a lead comes in, all you really have from this person is their email address. So you know the company that they work at, unless they gave you a Gmail or something, the bane of any marketing team's existence, right? Oh, it came from Gmail. Great, beautiful. We have no idea. But if you can figure out who the person is and where they work from, and you can probably get that information out of the email, I always go to LinkedIn. So I'm talking to an audience that I'm assuming is sales professionals right now. LinkedIn is where we go. Go to LinkedIn, find that person, do a quick scan, figure out what their background is, because what their background is, where they've worked, what they've done, all of that sort of stuff is going to help inform where that conversation is going to go. If you see they have a very technical background, then you know you're going to probably have a pretty technical conversation. But before that even, I like to go to the new inquiries LinkedIn page and intentionally go to their recent posts. This is something that a lot of sales professionals for some reason don't do. They tell me they don't do, and I don't know why. Go to someone's LinkedIn page, click on recent posts, click on just see all, and then go to actual posts that they've made themselves. And if they don't make a lot of posts, go to their all activity and look at the things that they've been commenting on. Find things that you can jump in on and maybe tag them. Let them know that you see them. Let them know that you agree with them. What I always say to this, though, is just don't go and agree with people and comment on things that aren't a part of your personal brand, because that's actually taken away from your personal brand. When you make comments on LinkedIn, when you put posts on LinkedIn, when you like posts on LinkedIn, your followers believe that you actually like that. So just blindly liking things to try to get leads, it's actually probably going to do more harm than good to your personal brand. That's just my personal opinion on this one. We could probably debate this one all day long. But what is good is to interact on LinkedIn. It's going to help you with your algorithms on LinkedIn, but it's also going to give you a more informed approach from that lead that you received before you go after them. I would also say don't just fall back on the old tricks where it says, oh, I saw you went to this college. That's awesome. I love that college. Or my mother went to that college. That's not really enough. That's not really enough to build a relationship. Dig a little deeper. Try to build a meaningful connection. Let's not be salesy. Let's be helpful. Let's be strategic. Let's start learning what they are actually interested in, trying to unearth what their actual needs are in a digital space, and then approaching them with some helpful advice or solutions. This is why I'm all about creating content, because the kind of content that I produce, you either like it or you don't like it. And if you like it, if I'm helpful to you, and if this is bringing value to your life, then when you need somebody in the space that I work, you're probably going to think of me. And that's really the best way. So that was a roundabout way of answering that question, but don't be afraid to do a little bit of digging when an email comes through. The worst thing you can do is just turn and burn and just quickly respond without any sort of context. Definitely dig in a little bit for that. All right, do we have another question on here?
We're proposing more questions in the chat right now.
Yeah, all right.
I think one great thing to talk about might be, I think that there's probably more to say on like the technology piece, like what are some great tools that can help you out to research or
Yeah.
personalization.
Sure. So some tools to scale personalization, like I said, we're going to be talking in more depth about different specific tools that exist in the third session that we're going to be doing. And so I don't want to get into the weeds on them too much right now, but what I would tell people is that there's obviously there's a ton of tools out there. LinkedIn Sales Navigator will give you a ton of intel on people. Drift, which is a chat bot that a lot of companies are putting onto their websites, they have, I think they call it Drift Intel. I'm not quite sure, but Drift will give you all the information about the person that you're chatting with on your website, so you'll know exactly what their company is, probably their email address. All that stuff will be automatically given to you. There's so many tools for this right now. Yes, they're going to cost some money, so you just have to have the conversation with yourself. How much is my time worth? How much time does it take me to get the information I need to better follow up with this person? Or how much is it worth to me to just have this information kind of spoon-fed to me? So that's going to be a personal choice on that one. So best of luck. Hope that answers the question. How are we doing?
Let's give it a pause. Let's see if people...
All right. So we're going to wrap this session up real soon here because our second session is coming up. So what I need to do is basically change all the cameras around in here, get some more microphones set up, and then we're going to start the next stream. To join the next stream, you're actually going to be joining a different link. So you'll be able to access the video from the SalesReach YouTube page. Totally fine if you want to do that. Otherwise, Jared, you can go ahead and put in the chat, go ahead and put a link to that SalesReach page. What you're going to want to do is just click right on session 2 after we shut this one down. And then once session 2 goes live, you'll be able to watch it right there. So we're gonna wrap that one up. Unless anybody has any more questions, I'm going to quick turn and burn and start setting all of that stuff up. I want to thank everybody for joining. I hope that we're bringing some value here. I hope that we're helping to give you some tips and tricks to kind of weather this storm right now. Again, this is not supposed to be this big salesy thing where we're trying to just promote our services. That's not it at all. We really do want to align you with the tools that exist out there outside of our own product. We mentioned a handful of products right now that I don't have any investment in or any financial gain from, but I believe in the companies. I think they make great products, and I think that these are great tools that everybody should be looking at. And we're going to get into the weeds on a lot of them in the third session. But this next session is going to be with a good friend of mine, Mikolai Bador. He works at NetSuite. He is also the founder of Closers Media. So maybe anyone from Minnesota knows him from Coffee and Closers. An incredible podcast. I've been lucky enough to be a guest 2 times on that. And then a good friend of mine, Alan LeMay. He is a sales professional for a company called Workday. And so I'm really excited to have that conversation with them. So I'm going to stop the stream here because I'm not seeing any additional questions coming in right now. We'll see you guys on the next stream. I got to turn and burn here. Thank you so much for joining. It's really been awesome giving this a shot. This is my first live stream, and I think so far went pretty good. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully you join the other sessions.